Carl Conrad and welcome to Australian Immigration News, proudly brought to you by Australian Immigration Law Services here in Sydney. This week, the Immigration Minister Andrew Giles published a media release reassuring the public that the government was urgently assessing all options available to address the backlog of visa processing. He said the department is prioritising processing of key offshore caseloads, temporary, skilled, student and visitor, so more people can travel to Australia and contribute to economic growth and assist with labour shortages. Already, officers previously focused on travel exemptions have been redirected to visa processing, with nearly 140 new staff in visa processing roles since May 2022. Further, a surge capacity to work overtime drawn from across the department and the Australian Border Force has been established. He stressed the need for patience and understanding while these new measures were being implemented. The processing of visas will continue to be a major priority for this government, but reducing the backlogs of applications can't happen overnight. People relocated to dealing with visa applications on hand need to be trained and skilled before they can go about this important work. To support the notion that action was indeed happening, he stressed a few figures to keep us all happy. 740,000 visa applications have been finalised since the beginning of June 2022, including over 645,000 offshore visa applications. This includes 308,000 visitor visas, 62,000 student visas, and 9,550 temporary skilled visas. This is indeed very reassuring. I have this strange, warm and fuzzy feeling just presenting this good news. And just to stick it to the former government for a good measure, he said, the former government devalued immigration, with the visa application backlog increasing to nearly 1 million on their watch. The Albanese government is determined to reduce the backlog and restore the importance of the immigration function to our government. And for those who have been waiting patiently for their applications to be processed and have been diligently checking their IMI account, some of you have noticed an action flag that is showing on your application summary page that perhaps should not be there. In a message to the immigration professionals like ourselves, it was received saying, please disregard the action flag required if you have already the following information and it is still showing as required on your application summary page. This is in relation to biometrics and additional payment required. The Immigration Department says that this is a known system issue that is currently being investigated by technical teams and does not affect the processing of your application. Well, thank goodness for that, as there's already enough delays for people to cope with. In the Financial Review this week, they revealed that for the offshore permanent skilled visas waiting to be processed at the 30th of June, only 438 were health professionals. Of those, just 32 were registered aged care nurses. Is the government really relying upon offshore applicants to save the ailing aged care sector? And news from the land from down under. The Tasmanian government released its new requirements for the 491 and 190 visa sponsorship program for this financial year. Disappointingly though, they, like other states and territories, are still waiting upon their year's allocations before they can begin opening up for applications. So what's new for Tasmania? A new simplified system that does away with being able to apply directly to the Tasmanian government. You will have to register your interest on the state government's website's portal, then wait for an invitation to apply to Tasmania. This of course releases the pressure on the government in dealing with an overflow of applications where only a percentage would receive a positive outcome. In the future, when you pay for your application, there should be a high chance of a positive result. Overall, there's too many changes to go into today, so here are the highlights. For graduates of a Tasmanian education provider, you can choose any course or any occupation. There will be no employment requirements and permanent 190 visa pathway for PhD graduates. For skilled employees, an expanded list of occupations and employment eligible for permanent resident subclass 190 visa, no occupational requirements for the subclass 491 visa, inclusion of part-time employment to meet work experience requirements, and subcontractors with related skill assessments will be eligible. For business operators, an extension of the qualifying business operation time from 6 to 12 months for business operations that commenced after the 15th of April 2022. The introduction of a new personal business income requirement set at a minimum 80% of the TSMIT, i.e. $43,120. There will also be a new category for long-term residents, for candidates who have lived in Tasmania for an extended period and established themselves in employment or business, a qualifying residence period of at least 3 years for permanent residence 190 visa nomination or 2 years for the provisional 491 visa. Business operators will be eligible for the subclass 190 nomination if they have lived in Tasmania for 2 years and run their eligible business successfully for 2 years. For all overseas candidates, all occupations available where a candidate has a job offer. More invitations to apply for nomination from SkillSelect where candidates have the skills needed by Tasmanian businesses. New industry skills need profiles to help potential candidates tailor their SkillSelect EOI to increase their chances of invitation. There is now a new overview for all candidates, a clear set of published priority attributes describing the additional characteristics needed to be competitive. Only those candidates that meet the competitive threshold will be invited to apply for a nomination. These attributes will include duration and industry of employment, employment in skilled roles which are critical to the Tasmanian economy, connections between employment, skills and assessment and study, rate of salary compared with the Australian average and median, nature, level and duration of Tasmanian study, completion of work placements related to study, graduate employment offers, duration and success of business operation, level of business investment, turnover and local employment, length of residence in Tasmania, English language ability, location, length of residence, employment and skills of dependent. On the one hand, the Tasmanian government says that it wants to simplify the process, but on the other hand it produces a list of variables that in fact would make it impossible to know what your chances are in receiving an invitation. Which of these variables will be favoured the most? Making the requirements seemingly easier, particularly in relation to the graduate program, is like setting a honey trap. Let's get as many students as possible with the hope they can apply. But in reality, this so-called priority listing and competitive nature means you will have no idea if you can receive an invitation or not. More on this later when we do a full review of the requirements. Well, that's it for the end of July. Stay tuned for more updates in August, and to do that, the best way is to subscribe to this channel. You can also keep up to date by liking our Facebook page as well. As always, take care out there and I'll see you next time. So bye for now.